Welcome to Squirrel Trails. I'm David.
And I'm Al.
Today, Tuesday, we're doing our Tuesday video. Basically a wrap up of yesterday's video.
Which was pretty short.
Pretty short.
And direct, because we figured we'd cover all that material here. And as usual, when we do these videos, it kind of,
Yeah, we go long. So, maybe once we get to 50 subscribers, was our goal?
yeah, we were at 50 subscribers.
Once we get 50 subscribers, we'll be doing a live video. So you can watch us do this. Yay.
And you can actually throw comments at us.
Which would be nice.
Yeah.
Because our goal eventually is to have a video day during the week where we kind of sit down with you guys and talk about last week news, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just a variety of things that may be of interest to
And
you.
then you guys can ask questions from at least one professional and one...
You're a professional.
Yes.
We won't talk about what kind of professional, but you're a professional.
Professional of someone who's been around for a while, knowing what to do, and someone who just loves it. Like a friend was telling me after he watched our videos, he goes, "Damn, you guys are nerds." I said, "Yeah, we are."
This was a surprise to anybody that knew us. It's like, okay.
So yeah, I'm like, yeah, we are. So
We're clearly not video professionals.
yeah, the apple does not fall from the tree. So with that being said, our first article we talked about yesterday was.
It was off of Brian Krebs' Krebs on Security site, where a payroll company made off with $35 million of payroll money, and more importantly, though, the employees got jobbed out of their payroll twice.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
So yeah,
and it sucks for the employees because I'd be pissed. I'd be grabbing torches and pitchforks.
yeah, and they were.
Yeah.
Actually, the nice thing about this is from the article is a number of the employers, and these are in many cases mid-range small employers.
Yeah.
Actually tried to make their employees as whole as they could during the process.
Yes.
So let's get into the background of this really quick. I went into it fairly quickly yesterday. So first of all, you need to understand what happens when you get paid.
So yeah, so we're gonna break this down.
Yeah.
Because you did go over it pretty quick. So we're gonna talk about it in as a company A, company B.
Yep.
Just so we can all kind of track how this works. Because most of you just think that your company pays you directly, and it's not.
That's not actually what happens.
That's how it works.
Yeah. So the way the process works is, especially for mid-range companies that are using a payroll processing service.
Yep.
So the payroll processing service, in this case, it's my payroll HR.
Okay.
I can get it right here eventually. So, and it's in front of me too. That's the scary part. You'd think David was the one that can't read,
Right?
So
again, yeah, Apple was not far from the street.
Okay, I deserve all of that. So anyway, so in this case, my payroll HR has contracted with 1,000 different companies in which they're going to do their processing, and all that sits in the cloud. Now, the reality is, who cares? Whether it's
So other companies are paying my payroll
right
to send out checks.
Right. So actually, what they're doing to do all their payroll processing.
Okay.
So if you think about what happens, you're a small business owner, and I know some of you are. A small business, payroll's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And honestly, you have to get it right, or the IRS gets very upset.
Truly upset.
And your employees kind of as well. So there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of different states involved, and the states get upset. So there's a lot of folks involved here. So you hire a company to do this, and you basically report, hey, these are my employees. This is how much they work this week. This is how much they get paid by hour or on salary, whatever that might be. And these are their tax withholdings.
Okay.
Pretty simple. You tell that to the payroll company. The payroll company then says, oh, okay, and on this Friday, your employees are all going to get paid X. And they prepare individual transactions that are going to go into those individual employees' payroll accounts to be deposited on that Friday.
So cool company A pays this company.
Well, that's not, now okay, that's the one thing. There's a company in the middle. Good point, David.
Okay.
The payroll company generally is not a financial institution themselves.
Okay. So again, so who's paying where's the chain of command?
Okay, so the way this works is,
Company A. Okay, so
Vancourt Trucking has, say, 10 employees.
okay, so Vancourt Trucking.
So
you have 10 employees.
10 employees, they send all their transactions to all their payroll data to, in this case, my payroll HR, which
Okay.
unfortunately he didn't do. And then on that, as they do that, then they also send my payroll HR the money.
Okay, so
to pay them.
Vancourt Trucking pays my payroll,
And then
My
expects
payroll.
payroll, right?
pays the employee.
No, then it goes to a
Okay.
processing company in the middle.
Okay, so you got Vancourt Trucking,
Okay.
my payroll, a processing company,
Right.
then the banks.
And then
for all
that
the
sends it
employees.
out to the banks.
The banks.
All the banks.
All the banks.
Right. So, and part of the reason that my payroll HR doesn't just send it to all the banks
Mm-hmm.
is you have to be registered in such a way to be able to put those transactions in there.
Okay.
I mean, you have to be qualified. There's things you got to do before you are allowed to just send transactions into the financial processing system.
Okay, so it's very limited.
It's very limited. There's a lot of companies that do this, but they're all regulated and controlled.
Sure. Okay. So, so in the article, who's the one that kind of first screwed up?
Okay, well, the first person that screwed up on this was the payroll company.
So my payroll.
My payroll.
Sorry.
Yeah, HR. My payroll HR.
Okay. So that company.
They ended up.
The company is the article is down below along with the company that screwed up.
Right, and we probably ought to do a flow chart at some point in time. So,
Love whiteboards.
yes. Why don't we do this on a whiteboard? Okay, sorry. Whole other conversation.
Yeah, once we get bigger, we'll be able to get a whiteboard back here
Yeah, 'cause
and actually have a
yeah.
decent camera.
Yeah. So anyway, and maybe lights.
Yeah, eventually. We're getting there.
So,
Slowly but surely. Again, this is the first year, so
yeah.
we're getting there.
yeah, and my piggy bank's only so big.
Yeah.
They're, and worse yet, I have to get my wife. Yeah, okay, forget that. We won't go there.
So my payroll HR.
Okay, so my payroll HR, what they did, normally they would send that money, as we said, to the financial processing company.
Yes. Okay.
And this Cachet is the name of that company.
Okay.
Yeah. But this time they didn't.
So instead of paying the processing company,
Right.
they paid.
Another account that they set up.
So they paid themselves.
They paid themselves.
Okay. So in all reality,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily another account. It's themselves.
Well, yeah, it's an account the company controls, but what it looks like is the president of the company put the money into there and directed that payment.
So he's like, okay, yeah, instead of paying them, we're gonna pay me.
Me, right.
Okay.
So, after all, who's more important than me?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, that's again the human nature.
human nature. And
Was this company having problems before?
I didn't say.
Okay.
No, but they've been doing this for 12 years.
Okay. So
Yeah, so in all honesty, this is one of those transactions. It's kind of hard. As long as you stay organized, you can make money doing this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and without stealing. Because
Yep.
you clearly, in this case, could make money by
Yeah,
stealing.
I mean, you're making a profit.
Right, you can make
a percentage on
Yeah.
amount or whatever.
Now, if you get yourself disorganized and you start not paying or paying twice or doing things, this kind of goes sideways in a hurry. I have wonderful stories on that.
Something I can't do.
Yes.
My wife maybe.
Your wife would be really good at this.
Yes.
Yeah, you not so much.
Yeah, no.
So,
I just probably I pay myself by accident.
yes. Now, you could actually hire your wife to do this, and that would actually work.
I'll own the company. She worked me.
It normally works the other way. You're always working for your wife, but we won't go there again.
Yeah. Okay. So back on track. Again, once we get bigger, we're gonna have a squirrel at the top.
Yeah, they
Little
might
mascot.
have divorce papers in it.
That's right. Okay. Anchor, keep going.
So,
Try to stay
rapidly. So, oh God, you'd think I do this for a living. I do actually. So,
Say company.
so,
So the payroll company paid themselves.
the payroll company paid themselves. Now, that's a known risk.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of those things that we actually know about in this industry, that if you're sending money, you could have that money sent someplace else. Now, the question is, could it be the owner directing that? Could it be somebody that actually just changed that transaction? Because you think about it, the company, the payroll company, is just sending money to a bank account.
Yeah.
And so it should be the trust account for the financial processing company. That's the way that's supposed to work.
Yep.
But yeah, they can send it to any company. So that's a known risk.
Sure.
We're going to go back to that because that's normally a pretty well-controlled transaction. Just not everybody is supposed to be able to change where that money goes.
Usually there's a select few that actually send money.
Right, and actually, anytime those account numbers get changed, it's supposed to be approved.
It should be.
It's authorized, approved, validated.
The owner did validate it.
It did approve it. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Right. So good point. I mean, that is the challenge here. Is that we do say if there's a lack of segregation of duties, you should be able to trust management.
Yeah.
But in this case, no.
Yeah. So they didn't pay the service company.
They didn't pay the service company. They paid another account.
So, and then what happened with the service company?
So the service company got the transaction from the payroll company. The payroll company was kind enough to send all those transactions.
So they send the transactions to the service company?
To pay all the employees.
Yes.
Because they wanted the money. They didn't want the employees to get hurt.
So they sent the email saying, yes, this amount goes in this company, this amount goes to this guy, this amount goes to this guy.
Yeah, to all the employees, however many there were.
Yep.
So the financial processing company...
Excel spreadsheet.
Yes.
It's fun to look at. Sorry.
Okay, I thought I wandered. Okay, so yes, the financial processing company then got those transactions and submitted those, just like they should. Now, normally, you want to make sure you've got paid before you submit all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't pay my electric bill unless I got money in an account.
Right, but, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't, let's be clear. So...
I'm not one of them.
Yes. So, yeah, there are people that have bounced checks, but in this case, they've bounced several thousand checks.
Yeah, that's probably an understatement.
So you really do want to make sure, if you're in a financial process, if you're sending money from point A to point B, you want to make sure you've gotten your side of the money before you send it all in.
Point A to point C, B being me.
Yeah.
Yes, A paid me, so B can pay C.
Right, absolutely.
Yes.
In that case, they didn't do this.
Oh, now they said they sent out all the transactions to all the employees of all these other companies.
No, but they've been, in their defense, they've been doing this with this company for 12 years. Been happening all the time, normal process, and it is simply the way these things work. Here's the transactions, send it in, send it out.
Yeah, okay.
And away you go.
Yep.
And in all honesty, believe it or not, there are actually two separate types of transactions within the system.
Okay.
So they are very separate.
Sure.
So the financial processing company actually has to set up controls to validate that they've gotten paid before they release that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So here's all the transactions going to go out, and I should have money for that. Okay, so they didn't. They sent the money out and then realized after they released all these transactions into the wild, into the banking system, and it's in what's called an automated clearinghouse. It just runs all throughout the country.
Yep.
They said, I want that money back because I didn't get my part.
Oh.
So, okay, and that's kind of to be expected. I
Sure.
didn't get paid. Bring me all that back. It's not my fault that there was fraud in the middle.
Yeah.
And my company wasn't a part of the fraud. We got victimized.
Okay.
So, now that's an interesting question. Should their insurance cover that? Okay, another conversation.
Could they cover it? I mean, their insurance would cover it?
It depends on the kind of insurance they've had, because fraud insurance for an IT kind of fraud, you have to have some fairly specific rule sets in there. So, yes, that's, again, a whole other topic that we may or may never get to.
No,
But it's an interesting question. If you want to go down that with cyber insurance, send us a note.
Yeah,
and
make a comment down below on your thoughts.
And then I'll kind of be obligated to wander through that. So it is kind of fun because it is a growing, changing industry with the amount of fraud that happens.
Yes.
in point of fact, on the ransomware stuff we talked about, we say, don't encourage bad behavior by paying the ransom. The insurance company says
no,
pay the ransom and be done.
Pay the ransom, which is again.
Again, way off topic.
Way off track.
Call back to a previous conversation.
We'll get the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
Yes. Okay, so in this case, they sent the transaction to reverse all of those transactions.
Yep.
It could potentially be referred to as a clawback if you wanted to.
It's a simple standard term, clawback.
But it's essentially a reversal of the transaction. But they kind of messed it up. So
how do you mess up a reversal or a clawback?
Well, one, you don't do it very often. So
no, but I mean it's
so the transaction format probably wasn't really familiar to somebody. Okay. So when they keyed it in, they messed up. So to correct it, they did it again. Yeah, there's actually lots of rules that they broke in this process.
Yeah,
you're not supposed to do this. And so they did set it right. They did manage to get at least the second one. They did end up getting it returned and backed. So they did get through this. But
because employees essentially from company A's,
in this case, Vancourt Trucking,
all their employees not only didn't get paid, but then were negative what they should have been paid.
Yeah, they lost that week's pay, and for all intents and purposes, lost last week's.
If they would have gotten paid $1,000,
yeah,
that for the 2 week period. 2 week period, sure, $1,000. So the $1,000, the initial $1,000 was callback, and then a second $1,000 was callback.
Right.
Whether
by the way,
or not.
In many cases, it was a whole lot more than $1,000.
Yes.
So you're right. The way that worked, so everybody lost twice.
Ouch.
Being that it was a Friday, you can figure that many of these employees were paid every other week, so they lost a month's pay literally overnight.
Oh man, overdraft fees.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come into play here.
Because people would have had probably overdraft fees.
Think. And do you have a month's extra pay in your checking account?
I do.
I'm impressed. When you talk about your savings program, but okay.
It is my savings. Yeah.
Okay, well, your checking account is not supposed to be your savings program.
Well, I have both.
Okay.
Anyways, I manage my business very well.
Okay.
To be completely honest.
Right.
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
My wife is too.
It's after the first year, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So,
anyways.
God help us, Lord.
Wow, that was personal.
So, sides of us you did not want to know.
So yes, so they, I mean, could the employees then go after? Who would they go after?
Oh, that's a fascinating question. So typically what ends up happening is the employees do get hit with all sorts of NSFs.
Yes.
And in many cases, the banks may or may not. Okay, that doesn't work. Many cases may or may not.
Yeah.
All cases they may or may not. In some cases, the banks will reverse this depending upon what's going on.
Well, and depending on the bank.
And depending on the bank.
Because some banks don't.
Some banks don't. So the benefit of having a good relationship with your bank.
Yes.
And the bank not having too many employees that get hit all at the same time.
Yeah.
So, because this was really no fault of the employees.
No.
And this was, so what would typically happen in this, I would guess, and it's been a long time since I've done this work, is that the financial processing company would probably get hit with all those financial charges. Because, oh, by the way, they also get hit with fees for financial charges that couldn't be the reversals and all that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Reversals, no less.
Yeah, this would be kind of an inner. Yeah, there's
a lot of. The banks make a lot of money on this one.
Yeah, but you don't want to know how much the banks spend in trying to recover.
You're making money, air quotes, making money, but
yeah,
no.
I mean, yes, there's no question banks make money with fees, but the reality is, it's also because there's a lot of cost in all of these fees.
Yes. Yeah.
So now we're not going to get any further because I work for a bank, full disclosure. But what we do here what I'm saying here, absolutely not tied to what anything that my bank has. This is all my own opinions. But full disclosure, I do work for a financial institution. So,
And I don't.
yeah, that's a good point. So anything that I said wrong, it's on him.
But I try not to get him in trouble.
Yes.
The word is try.
Been that way for decades.
The best part being your son.
You're getting better at succeeding and not getting me in trouble now.
I know, yeah.
He used to be. So,
Watch out for your forehead. Anyways.
man. Well, let's cut this out. This might have been TMI.
Okay, anyways. So, as you were saying, so let's cut off all the,
So,
yes, and it's people getting withdrawals, or people getting,
he was going someplace with this.
I lost that. So, well, we're okay. Yes, people lost the transaction fees. Yes. Okay. All those.
And the individuals can sue to recover those funds.
Yes. So anyway, so back to the story.
That's actually happened to your mother at one point in time 30 years ago where that happened. A payroll company did not send the money.
Yeah.
And we didn't get paid.
It also happened to me.
Did it really?
Remember when I was working for a company and they didn't deposit the money?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the money was not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened? What happened was just we won't go into details. Did you have to pay the overdraft fees?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All of them.
Ow.
Like about $1,000 worth of overdraft fees.
That's more money than you made.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I wonder that $1,000 was a convenient number for you.
Rough estimate,
Yeah.
$1,000. There was, a lot of fees because I was kind of self-employed, but not really. I was independent. Well, I was employee. But so the bank said, "Oh yeah, no, your company doesn't have any money." I'm like, "Okay, well, I didn't expect that. Here's the check they gave me. Oh, yeah, it's bad." Well, then why'd you put the money in my account and then take it back? Because the bank actually did that, not the actual.
But that's the same thing happens here.
Yeah. So again, so banks do not always take that money back to the employee or the company.
So
anyways,
that's another conversation we probably can get into is the banks and what happens when you deposit a check, manually deposit a check. That's bad. But
if you want a separate video on that, make a comment down below, and we can get into it. I know exactly how this works because I went through it for 6 months.
And I'll probably have to go do some research on this too, which is never a bad thing.
Yes. So with that.
So to kind of wrap this, the real learning out of this is, first of all, your time when you get paid, the payroll, the process actually goes through 3 or 4 different hands.
Sure.
That you didn't know about.
Yeah.
The challenge is that most of you probably aren't aware of the fact that when you sign the form that says you're authorizing somebody to deposit money into your account, you're probably also authorizing them to take money out of that account.
And probably is actually just you are.
Yeah, you are. That's Minnesota passive aggressive.
Right?
You are.
Minnesota nice. Yeah, kind of sort of are. You are.
You are. It's in that transaction.
Yes.
It's in that document. So you want to make sure you read this stuff when you sign it. So an employer or somebody else hands you a document, say just sign here, and you sign here. You ought not to be listening to this station.
It's a 2-page form, and that first page just talks about all the terms of service. Yeah, make sure you read that because it's
there. Now, that being said, the institution needs to be able to reverse transactions occasionally or to correct errors.
Sure.
And that's the reason that's there, because errors do occur. And trust me, the financial processing company here is not going to come out ahead.
No.
With this. They're going to get in a huge amount of trouble for doing it.
Not just lots of money, but lots of trust.
There's verify comes into play here. There's a lot of things that are going to go sideways with this. But the key thing that I think, looking at the article, that most people had not realized was that not only can somebody put money in your account if you're authorizing that, you may have authorized them to take money out. And so I'm not saying you have to plan to have extra on hand, but because nobody wants to think they're going to be hit with fraud or something. But to be honest, you need to have some emergency funds because fraud does happen. There are many ways that this particular fraud could have been stopped.
Sure.
In all honesty, this could have been stopped. Now, the guy had already taken off with the money. So,
Yeah.
so that part's gone, although the company, in particular, if it was a public corporation, there should have been some controls to prevent
Yeah.
this from occurring.
Yeah.
That have been violated, and if they find him, he's going to jail.
Yeah, he's probably gonna be
For a long time.
Yeah.
So, but, everybody along the string's been hurt with this, and that's kind of what happens with a fraud. Second, $35 million sounds like a lot of money, because you got $26 million of the employee's money, and oh, by the way, he took another $8 or $9 million that was supposed to go for payroll taxes, so the states and the IRS are after him. I'd much rather have the processing company come after me than the state or the IRS. The IRS is not somebody you want to mess with.
True.
So in this case, it was kind of a bad thing. Okay, that again, passive understatement. This was a very bad thing that all started with somebody wanting to do something bad and make off with $35 million. Do the math. Is $35 million enough for you to walk away and try to get away clear, knowing that you're going to go to jail for a very long time if you get caught, and they're going to get this money back. So
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah.
So
No.
I'm not going to say you need to calculate what number is enough for you for a fraud, but
What's your risk level on this one?
yeah, don't do that math, guys, please. But just make sure it's higher than you possibly think it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Until you do this.
So with that, on our lighter note, let's go talk about
Happy thoughts from Al.
right? So on a lighter note, let's talk about California and their Assembly Bill AB 5.
Okay, so in this bill, short version, what does this do?
So this version, short version, is basically California says, so if you work for a company and you're told what to do, when to do it, you should be an employee and not a temp or a gig worker. So you would get a salary, so knowing what an hourly or salary wage, along with health benefits and all the other benefits that a employee would earn.
So when we say employee, do we mean, okay, so this is really focused at the gig economy. So
Yes.
what they're trying to do here is to say that Uber, Lyft, Dine and Dash, whatever it is.
DoorDash or
DoorDash,
something
whatever.
like that, yep.
All these delivery companies, whether they're delivering stuff or delivering people, which are done by gigs, they're essentially trying to say, you shouldn't be able to do that as a gig, you should be able to do this as an employee. And there's a reason that they're doing that.
So if you don't know what Uber or Lyft is, it's basically just basically a cab, where a individual drives a car, their own car, so they pay all the gas, they pay all the maintenance. You'll pick up someone,
Right?
and that person doesn't pay them, the driver, and they actually pay Uber, which then pays the driver a percentage.
And the difference between that and a cab service.
So cab service, the same thing happens, but that cab is paid hourly.
Okay, so the cab driver gets paid the number of hours that they work.
They're not based on the distance between point A to point B for a person. They do get paid the tip.
Right.
But they'll sit in their car all day. They work 8-hour shifts.
And
Or 10-hour shifts.
the other piece to this is they also have to be licensed.
Yes. So like New York has their coins.
They're actually called medallions.
There's medallions, coins, yeah. And they're worth a ton of money.
Yeah, I seem to remember, don't quote me on this one, so I probably ought not say it out loud, but it was like $1 million to have a medallion for the city of New York.
Yeah, so, and they're really upset about Uber and Lyft because they don't have to pay that.
Right, because they're not actually a
They're
taxi
not actually
company.
taxi drivers.
Right, they're not
No.
licensed by the state to be a taxi driver.
So California, to get around all this, has said basically, if you have an individual working for you that is a temp worker, and you're telling them what to do, when to do it, and you pay them directly, that you have to now treat them as an employee, which means they get paid a hourly wage.
Okay, but so Okay,
And all that.
but you know, let's step back. That's always been the rule. If
Sure,
I,
yes.
if I, you know, the IRS has required this. I mean, we fought this thing in the IT industry in the 80s when suddenly everybody decided to become a contractor. And the IRS was like going, well, wait a minute, how's this work? And because you're treating two people that literally sit next to each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
One's a contractor, one's employee. One gets all sorts of employee benefits, the other doesn't get any of those benefits. And oh, by the way, the IRS doesn't get their withholdings from them either.
Sure, yeah.
Which was actually part of the bigger deal because these guys were into tax situations.
Yeah, and that's the trucking industries again.
Okay.
That they're I mean, most guys get paid. Most trucking guys are self-employed. The owner operator, they're all self-employed. They may pull for a different company, but they're paying their own taxes.
Right.
So again, the trucking industry is, I mean, they're big on this one.
Yeah, and this is actually, it's a big deal, in particular in California.
Yes.
Because that's kind of where this all started from. So if you see a delivery company that's a trucking company, yeah, that's probably a self-employed individual that may own the truck, may not own the truck.
It would say, basically it would say on the door,
Yeah.
they have their, if the name of the box they're pulling behind them is different from the name on the door, yeah, it's usually self-employed.
Okay, so, but that's the norm. So, but in this case, so what we're trying to say here is that, so in the defense of California on this, and we don't normally run down these political topics,
No.
so I'm going to be really careful and so probably try to pay the side of California on this.
Okay.
Just so we're fair.
Sure.
In this case, how are they not employees? Because they're showing up for work. They are told who to pick up. I mean, in the eyes of California, they're being told who to pick up, where to take them, and how they're going to get paid. So how's that different than an employee?
But they're able to not show up whenever they want.
Oh, okay.
They're able to not deliver if they go, oh, I got to pick up someone over here. Yeah, no thanks. I'm just gonna not do that one.
So they can actually
they don't pay enough. They can turn down work all day long.
So they can turn down.
So they can go sit in their car someplace at the park playing video games on their phone. Most likely be Pokemon Go.
That's still a thing.
I know I would. Yes.
Pokemon Go is still a thing.
Oh, heck yeah. There are stories that actually players were having Uber drivers drive them around and paying them all day.
Okay, I won't even go there.
So yeah. Anyways,
sorry.
I wouldn't do that. It's too much money. But
People have sanity problems.
right. So got to catch them all, right? So anyways.
All the psychoses.
All right. And so yeah. So these guys are able to just sit in their car and not do anything
Okay.
all day.
Okay, so
And wait for that golden run that
so
pays.
they're waiting for the one that's going to pay them to drive from California to New York.
Exactly. Essentially, yes.
Never going to happen.
Never gonna happen.
They're going to wait for that. Okay, so they can do that.
So yes, that's why they're not employees.
Okay, so that's a key part. They don't have to show up to
They
work.
don't have to show up for work.
Right.
And they can then show up the next day without any repercussions.
Right, because they just simply weren't on the clock
They
yesterday.
just weren't on the clock.
Yeah. How does that impact Uber's business model? Because, I expect to have a certain number of drivers.
Yeah. So how the industry works is there's because there's so many.
Yeah.
That it basically they just have incentives. So if you go make 5 rides today, we're gonna give you a bonus.
Okay.
If you do accept 10 rides, you're gonna get a bonus. If you're on for this time to this time without signing off, you get a bonus.
Okay.
So that's how they incentivize drivers to do all this.
So we give you bonuses to do good things.
Yes.
Well, that's a wonderful idea.
Who
knew?
I think it's great for the industry, to be honest.
Right. So if you think about it, I get a bonus at my job because I do good work. It's not typically tied to transactions, but it could be. And some companies have, and some institutions in certain organizations, sides of it, have transaction-driven bonuses.
Yes.
Yeah. But to be a
You
watch
sell this much, you sell these many cars,
Right.
and we're gonna give a bonus after the month.
So NFL, it's football season right now.
Oh, sure.
And,
Yeah.
all sorts of bonuses.
Oh, a lot of bonuses.
Many guys make much more money on bonuses than they do actually salary.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Especially if you go to the NFL, bam, you're a bonus.
Yeah.
If you win the NFL,
Okay.
the Super Bowl. Again, I don't watch football.
Yeah. All right, enough before we get ourselves in further trouble.
So yeah.
So in this case, though, why? Yeah, I don't know where you're going.
Well, I get, yeah. I'm not a sports fan, so I thought the Super Bowl was again. Woo. Okay.
Help. So,
I should watch sports.
well, not necessarily. Probably more than you
shouldn't.
do Pokemon Go. So, anyway,
Again, I'm a nerd. So yeah, so
trying to get back on. But if that's the case, so here are a bunch of people, and so we're talking about these gigs, and we'll get into later and make sure David actually doesn't take us too far off, so we actually get into the number of industries that aren't covered by AB5.
oh yeah, okay, so yeah.
Wait.
Okay.
So, good Lord, wish you followed instructions this well when you were a teenager.
Right.
So, So what ends up happening here is that many of the people have come to their state legislators in California, and oh, by the way, Washington, I think Oregon, New York.
So this wasn't driven necessarily just came out of the blue.
Yeah.
So there are people, so drivers,
Yep.
that weren't making enough money, along the side of taxi companies, and they were getting hit hard by the new industry coming out.
So let's step away from the competitive factor, because that's and recognize that that's a part of this.
So well, that's always hard.
But let's go to the drivers themselves.
So there were drivers, and there always have been drivers, coming to legislators saying, "Hey, I'm doing this. I'm out and driving around for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, or 5 days a week,
Maybe 12 hours a day.
maybe 12 hours a day, and I'm not making enough money to live,
Right.
to pay for my rent and food. I should be getting paid a livable wage."
Which is, and the challenge is, in that situation is that...
Oh, by the way, sit up. The lights
Cameras.
coming in. So.
Okay, let me shift. Oh, that's not going to work.
Oh, just will work for now.
Okay, so in this case, the drivers who've been working, let's say 8 hours a day or
Sure.
more,
Yep.
aren't necessarily getting gigs.
Yeah, not all drivers make a ton of money.
Right, so some do. And was the model for the drivers to make a ton of money?
No.
This was anticipated to be a part-time gig when you're not doing something else.
Yeah, if you go look at the history of Uber and Lyft, it was meant to be a part-time side gig. You work your full-time job at McDonald's, and then after your shift, you go drive for a couple hours.
Oh, shoot, it could be a full-time job working, as a bank auditor.
Sure.
And saying, it's
On your way home.
I'll
pick up a ride.
I got a
Or two.
45. I've got a 40-mile drive.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'm not carbon centric. I understand. Didn't expect to be working where I am, and yes, I need to move, but there's a whole other conversation there.
Okay.
You live in a place for 25 years. You have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, right.
So, if I could get, an Uber, get somebody to say, hey, I can drive 10 miles of that and get
Yeah.
paid for it.
Heck yeah.
Score on that.
Right.
Not only that, I have an excuse to leave on time.
That's true. Yeah,
So-
you need that sometimes.
Yes.
So that was the intention. But people have turned this into, it's human nature to turn something that
Oh, I like to drive.
I like to drive.
I like to drive around town.
Again, that's kind of why I'm a truck driver.
Right.
So I love driving.
And so I can do this, and I can make money doing this.
Exactly.
Because it's a gig, I may actually make per trip, I'm probably making more money than a cab driver.
The cab driver, yeah.
So, and that works out because Uber doesn't have to invest in a bunch of vehicles.
Yep, they don't have to pay for the maintenance of vehicles.
Right.
They don't have to pay for the medallions if they need to be. They don't pay for the insurance on the vehicles.
Right.
All that fun stuff.
So I, as a Lyft or Uber driver or a DoorDash or delivery company of some kind, I have to cover all that. So
Yes,
I'm
as a driver.
expecting. So
It is a tax deduction,
right.
but sometimes that doesn't break even.
Yeah, if you didn't make as much money as you paid, this is what we call, a net loss.
Net loss.
The businesses have this.
Yep.
So in the driver's defense, they're saying, I'm not getting benefits, I'm working 8 hours a day. This is like a full-time job. Why am I not getting treated like a full-time job?
And this is where I have a ton of drivers myself that come and talk to me. So I train other drivers for my what I do. And so I train people, and they call me up a couple months later. Hey, I'm working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm not making a little wage. I can't get by. I'm like, dude, okay, well, one, start earlier, stay out later,
Right.
and don't turn down jobs.
Right, because if you turn down a job, you're just sitting.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, if you turn down a job frequently enough, I'm guessing that the dispatchers like going, well, I'd like to assign to this guy, but it needs to be picked up quickly, and he's likely to turn this down.
He might turn it down.
She might turn it down.
Yep.
So, I'm going to give it to somebody that I know is going to pick it up because it's a high value customer.
Yep.
There's things that come into play when you're assigning work.
Exactly. So in the Uber and Lyft, I mean, if you're not in the right area,
Right.
you may not make money. If you're downtown in a big city, you can. There's probably a lot of gigs around there. But if you're out in the middle of nowhere in a small ass town,
Right.
you may not make a ton of money.
Yeah, if you're in
and it's most likely not to point out small towns, but it's probably the drivers that live in small towns.
Well, the other side of this
because
is
they're not making as much money.
Maybe it could be though that, if you've got, and this is an interesting piece to this, let's say you're downtown.
Yep.
But there's 1,000 Uber drivers. So, it only covers so many.
Yep.
And so it's there.
Whoever can click it fast enough.
Right. Yeah, because there's a case of where demand comes into play.
Sure.
So, very similar to anything else.
Yeah. So there are drivers that are complaining, and basically they're the ones that went to legislators, kind of get back on track. Tried to. And so they brought it up, going, "Hey, I'm not making a little wage. I'm doing all this driving, but this is a right to work state, so we should be fine. Because we're self-employed, essentially, we can't adjust that." So California is saying no. If you work for a company and you treat them like an employee, you must now treat them like an employee and give them benefits,
right,
and an hourly wage.
Now,
downside for Uber and Lyft drivers, if you do the math, the drivers will actually lose money.
Yes.
So because they're not making it, because I could pick up 2 rides at once,
right,
and make double the income.
There's a lot of options.
There's a lot of options, but if you're getting paid an hourly wage,
right?
What is the hourly wage based on?
Okay, so
not to get just throwing this.
Yeah, I want to step back.
Okay.
Step back to another topic on this.
Sure. Okay.
Is that let's be clear that companies have misused the concept of contractors.
Yes.
I mean,
Contractors get pooped on often.
I mean, there's a construction used to be all the time with this, where, well, I'm a self-employed roofer or something.
Sure.
So
and trucking companies will those guys get pooped on. Oh yeah, you're gonna go pick up this. It weighs this much. You get there and it weighs twice as much, and you can't cross the scale because it's illegal.
Right.
Oh, but it's on your truck. You're good to go. Not our fault.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because you're supposed to have known that before you picked it up.
Yeah. So So companies they poop on self-employed guys all the time.
So that's the other side of this, is that companies, whether they be, and I'm not going to say Uber or Lyft or anything, but the companies have misused and will continue to misuse contracting sources in the future. It happens, in the information technology industry,
Farming industry,
anything where I can grab somebody that I need for a short period of time and not to pay them much.
Yep.
And I don't have to, and I don't have to pay them benefits, especially when it's a underemployed environment. Seasonal work.
Right.
I'm going to say after the crash, when people were just trying to get any kind of money. Absolutely, and this absolutely happened in the 80s. Guarantee this happened in the 80s. And this is where the IRS came back and pushed this to where, no, you have to treat people as employees if they're employees. The challenge for that is, the rules are kind of different in states. The IRS has probably the best rule set that are followed.
Okay.
California has a different rule set. Minnesota has a different
Well,
rule
let's
set.
stick with California.
Okay, so California, well, and the reason is
to not go off on a tangent.
So it's really complex is where I was trying to go with this.
Please, that's it. Yeah. Reel you in.
So, because yes, you have to go to work tomorrow. So the state of California may just be looking out for these particular folks because they've carved out many of the kinds of traditional things that would get us in trouble here, like realtors, insurance agents.
Yeah. So yes and no.
Okay.
Originally, they didn't.
Okay.
Originally, when they passed it, when they were pushing the bill through, they were not singling out anybody.
Okay,
they didn't know they had to.
Right. So okay, just like most legislation, I have a really good idea.
Yes.
I care a lot. I have a really good idea. I'm going to write legislation for this. And, and this happens in the federal government all the time.
Because they were going specifically after Uber and Lyft and DoorDash.
But they can't just say Uber and Lyft and DoorDash.
Well, they did.
Well, okay.
So they can. So one, those three companies have they have a court, yeah. So you can't single out, you're not supposed to single out in legislation a specific company.
But what you can do is single out a specific type of activity.
But when you put names down.
Well, just showing intent then, but
Okay, yeah, okay. So again, but people are doing this with Facebook and Google all the time. So
all right, so, okay.
Anyway, so yeah. So what happened was that after it passed, it actually had to get re-amended because trucking companies, nail salons, a ton.
It's accountants.
Everybody
that's a
graphic
professional
designers
is in the play. Yeah.
Essentially every industry except for taxi companies.
Well, it was what ends up happening. Well, and that's kind of where
it's
went.
A big list.
It's a big list, but they have backed out. I mean, there are some others that come into play. One of the things, and this is why I hate reading legislation, and David loves it, is as you start to go through this and you start to, it requires like a flow chart to figure out who's covered and who's not covered.
It's actually, I should put a spreadsheet together. Okay, sorry.
God, if you'd actually gotten college done.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, you're a better analyst than I am. In all honesty, you are. You're a much better analyst than I am.
Yeah, it's fun.
So, okay. You
Sorry.
think I'm weird.
Right.
So as I start going through this stuff, entertainment.
Yeah.
The conversation on this one is, if you think about the number of independent contractors that are, say, wrestlers,
Yeah.
Potentially actors and actresses.
Sure. The porn industry.
Okay, I wasn't going to go there for
But-
very good reason, but
yeah.
okay. Thank you for taking us right down there. So let's go back to reputable companies like
Wrestling.
Okay. Okay. So, and I don't even follow wrestling. I follow wrestling less than you follow football. So.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So anyway, but this came up in a conversation I was listening to on radio where they were talking about the wrestling.
Sure.
And so, these are independent contractors, but yet they're told when to show up,
Yep.
where to show up. They're essentially told what to
do. Yeah, in wrestling, exactly what to do.
And they
can't turn it down.
They can't turn it down. They are their trademarks are licensed by wrestling, not them.
True.
So they, for all intents and purposes,
Are employees
in a normal sense of the word, but they're not classified as employees. God, I want to do the homework on that and figure out how, but we won't go there.
So, yeah.
They're all bigger than I am, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. So we're actually going to wrap this up pretty quick.
Thank you, please.
So,
sued.
because this is a big subject.
And the light's making my head hurt.
Yeah. So if you would like to, we got limited time. Again,
It's either that or we wait longer until the light comes up.
Again, help us find subscribers, and we'll actually get
And make me buy lights.
we'll actually get a studio, somewhat of a studio. But yeah, so if you enjoyed our conversation today, hopefully you did, if you're still listening, make a comment down below on what your thoughts on either article.
Yeah, the ACH one's fascinating from a standpoint, at least from my perspective, of what people don't know when they sign and what happens when things go sideways and how you as the end consumer are impacted by that.
True.
The other issue on this AB5 is going to be, this is going to be a long story. We're probably going to talk about it more frequently as we go down as Uber goes to court on this.
Yes, because Uber is basically told them, if you didn't watch on Monday, which I said, Uber basically said to California, yeah, we're not going to follow it at all. Take us to court.
And I think just for giggles and grins, we may do a short video, maybe not one of our normal videos, on the IRS rules as what is an employee and what's not, just as background.
That'd be fun. So yeah, so
Okay,
hope
fun for David and I. We'll do it
Maybe
to
for
make sure
you.
we know what we're talking about. You it's there if you want it.
Yeah. So with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification down below. That way you'll be notified when our next video comes out.
Take care, folks, and stay squirrely.